Hi everyone, Helen Blunden here at Activate Learn on Twitter. I am so sorry, I feel like an idiot with this headphone, but it is Friday afternoon, it is about 10 past 5, it is drinking time, and this is the second glass of white wine, and for some reason my audio isn't working. I've done 2 other book reviews today, this is my third one, and for some reason the audio doesn't work, so I have to put these on and you just have to bear with me. I look like an idiot, but I look like an idiot even more so with a glass of wine, so hey, we just have to live with it. But you know what, today it's a pity it's not a fiction book, so I can make it a little bit more, relaxed. It happens to be a non-fiction book, a serious book, for professional development, and of all things, I'm looking like this with a wine. Anyway, what is it? It's Kate Murphy's You're Not Listening, What You're Missing and Why It Matters. And this book was lent to me by a very good friend, and I read it. Really interesting. Now, as a society, have we stopped listening? I don't know about you, but I think we have. For a society that lends itself to more importance on presentation skills, communication skills, people with the gift of the gab, people talking on video and everything, listeners seem to be on the wayside, which should not be the case, because I really like to quote right at the beginning of the book, which you can see here, for anyone who has misunderstood or felt misunderstood, and that's pretty much everyone around the world. I don't know about you, but in my life, I've got people who are exceptional listeners. One very, very, very good friend of mine, he is superb at it. And many times when I do get together with him, I'm always mindful of forcing myself to ask him a question and get a question in there so he could talk about himself. Now, what is that kind of skill that he has that I've picked up on it? So my good friend, I'm not going to mention his name, my good friend is someone who, when we get together, is able to ask open questions and really immerse himself into the story that I'm sharing. He'll ask me open questions, he'll be emotionally engaged, he'd laugh at the different places, he'd ask questions, and that gets me talking about the story even more so. And he keeps asking questions about it, and in so doing, then before I know it, I'm the one only, it's a one-sided conversation. But at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, man, I've got to ask him a question. I've got to ask him a question. And when I do stop, because I'm mindful of how much time I'm taking up, I ask him a question and he'll skillfully be able to answer the question and then return to my story. So what he does is he's really supporting the conversation. Now, these people, they're rare. When I do get together with him, I feel really great speaking with him because I'm the one talking about my story, but at the same time I'm mindful about what he's doing and I'm trying to ask him the question so he could also engage. Now, there are people that we know completely the opposite. People who you might ask a question, they'll say their story, which is great, but then when you go in and say your bit, they'll come up over you and say, yeah, that's nothing, you got to hear what happened to me. So what they're doing is they're actually shifting the conversation back to them. And we know a lot of people like that. And when I read about the supporting and the shifting of conversations in this book, I started to realize and think back, reflect on how I speak with people and how I could radically improve the way I listen. And I did notice with a couple of the conversations that I've had with friends, I was more mindful in how I asked a question and how I listened to what they had to say and asked questions so I could keep coming back to that conversation, because I really want to pick this skill up, simply because I also believe that as a society, we're not listening really well. If we have to rely on bartenders and priests and CIA agents and people who do this for a living, we can actually learn something from them. And it seems to me that people are just not being listened to anymore. So when they get any half opportunity to be able to share something, to say something, and when they've got someone's attention, they'll make sure to to use that time up really well. So another thing I liked about this book was the fact that Kate Murphy is a journalist. So she spoke to a whole heap of different people, and she captured their own examples and what they did to be able to engage other people in conversation. And two particular examples. One was a sales guy towards the end of the book who simply just listened to customers. He didn't say much, but he had long silences. And so what people would do was they would fill the silence with more information for him. So he would sit back and he would listen, and you know, to some people they think, well, he's not engaging, but he's actually thinking and he's really understanding what it is that these people need for their life. And so he was able to pinpoint exactly the type of furniture that he could sell to them, and he sold so much. He was one of the better salesmen simply because he listened to the people as opposed to getting in over the top of them. So very interesting skill to have for nowadays. I'd really love to know, do you think listening is an important skill? Is it something that we've somehow missed out because we've put more of an emphasis on speaking, on communicating this way, on presenting, on public speaking? Let me know what you think, because I think this is something to start getting into and understanding, because especially in a world that is constantly changing, where we need to understand different viewpoints and different perspectives, now's the time to shut up. In a very busy world, by us shutting up and letting other people talk, say their piece, with us asking questions so we can understand their perspective and gain their insights, this is an important skill to have. So You're Not Listening by Kate Murphy, highly recommended. So let me know if you've read this book or if you know of any other books to do with listening. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye for now. Wine time.